Welcome to the Global Peace Film Festival Lives Online Conversation 2022 Festival Edition. Please join me, Kelly Devine, the Artistic Director, and Nina Strike, the Executive Director, as we welcome Jennifer Jessam and Dr. Lo Sprague, the filmmakers behind Anima, a film that you can see as part of our 20th anniversary event starting in September. Our in-person programming begins September 19th, running through September 25th, followed immediately by our virtual access beginning September 26th and ending October the 2nd. All the information about scheduling, ticketing, film events, non-film events can be found at peacefilmfest.org. And now let's welcome Jennifer and Dr. Sprague. Thank you for being here and for your beautiful film.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nina and Kelly. We're very happy to be here today.
So happy to have you. And let's start out by telling us a little bit about the film.
Sure. Anima is a short documentary that really looks at what different faiths have to say about animals, how we treat animals, and the idea of compassion. And the film was initiated by Dr. Lo Sprague and the Gibord Center, who felt that the voice of faith and religion was missing in the conversation about how we treat animals, how we treat the planet, and, you know, as a byproduct, how we treat each other.
And Dr. Sprague, could you tell us a bit about your organization and the inspiration behind making a film?
Thank you, Nina. The Gibord Center is an educational interfaith organization, and our mission is to bring people together to challenge assumptions, to unleash the sacred, and to affirm the spirituality that transforms the world. And we wanted to help people understand that animals are sacred beings. They're part of creation, they're part of life. And our organization is really aimed at helping us get in touch with that place in ourselves that is connected to something greater than we are, that works towards a common good. And we believe that animals are part of that. And we also look to the fact that children learn either cruelty or compassion by the way they see animals treated often. And it was time for faith communities to step into this conversation and point out that animals are sentient beings who need to be treated with compassion. We have an advisory council. At the time, it was an advisory council of almost 30 different faith leaders. And to a person, they agreed that they wanted to see us make this film together.
That's a beautiful sentiment. You know, that so many different faith leaders could come together over this important and impactful matter. But you mentioned young people. What they learned was part of making this a film, a nod to making sure that, and a short film, part of your approach to making sure that as many young people might see it.
Absolutely. And since we've made the film, we've been approached by a number of schools that have asked us to bring this little 11-minute film into the classroom. So yes, we absolutely want to do that. And we find that religious leaders have really been hungry to deal with this topic, and they just haven't known how to do it. So this is a wonderful entree for them, this beautiful film that Jennifer and her team has made.
And to go along with this, and maybe Jennifer, maybe you can speak to this, to supplement the film, if you're aiming it at schools, and maybe also aiming it at faith leaders, maybe building sermons around it. Are you producing any auxiliary materials like lesson plans or sermons to go along with it to help people integrate this film?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would just to jump back. I was chiming in. No, that's fine. Because it connects to what you're saying. Lo and the founder of the Gibord Center, Dr. Gwen Gibord, they often, I think, underrepresent themselves because they are an interfaith organization, but to me, they're really a peacekeeping organization. I think that's the higher, because certainly I don't think you have to belong to a specific faith or religion to really feel, excuse me, the message that they send out, not just in this film, but, the idea of getting to know other and as you said very succinctly, Kelly, of all these different people coming together for a common good. So I think in that vein, yes, reaching kids and examining the things that kind of give us a sense of what we think or believe about animals and challenging some of those ideas is helpful to people of all ages. And certainly film is a tool that can really reach so many more people. And to answer you more directly, the question about auxiliary material, yes, there is a series, a short series of that elaborates a little bit more on what the different faiths say about how to treat animals and what they think about animals. And something that Dr. Sprague and I talked about a lot was how do we introduce this conversation without people shutting down, because religion is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, and I think these ideas do transcend any one specific take on how we treat each other, how we treat animals, how we treat the planet. So the thing that Lo kept talking to me about was like, we're just starting a conversation. And I think that's really important to understand, that this is just the beginning of a conversation. It's been kept very short and very succinct as a means to let's get to know, these different faiths. I mean, most people haven't even heard of the Jains. Most people wouldn't stop to pop into a mosque if they weren't part of an Islamic community. So part of it is introducing different people of different faith and cultural backgrounds, and introducing kind of basic ideas as a way to open a door to a conversation. So it's very intentionally made that way to, I guess, put people at ease so that they can hear this very important message that's being said to them. So there is a series on the Gibord Center website that has just a little bit of an elaboration on each faith. And Lo, I'll let you speak on any other ideas that we've discussed about that.
Thanks, Jen. This really was the lead of the Gibord Center's initiative on animals, faith, and compassion, and now on creation. And since we created the film, we've had several other faith communities come to us and say, can we do something and have you put it up? Because we want to speak to our own people about this. This is very important. And hopefully this will lead into further discussions about how we treat animals as food, how we treat animals in entertainment, animals in industry. And we made this film in part for an organization called Animal Defenders International, because they're one of the premier animal organizations in the world that goes in very strategically and helps to change the ethos, the consciousness in countries about animals. And they go undercover and show what actually happens to wild animals in circuses, what actually happens to animals in laboratories. And then they show it to legislators and say, is this what you want, or do you want to eliminate this? And they've changed the laws and the culture in many, many different countries, including around issues of fur farming, animal experimentation. And so this film is just the beginning of a conversation where we can help people rethink, perhaps, the way they look at animals.
That's fascinating. In listening to you both talk about the approach, it's very much in line with our definition of peace, that it's not an unobtainable goal, but instead it's a verb, it's a framework of how to move through life. And it's also not about some endpoint where differences are obliterated or removed. It's about living and respecting and finding ways to honor the commonalities and our differences at once. And it sounds very much like what the approach is that you are taking to this important topic.
Yes, this is not about making anyone wrong. It's about trying to help us be more aware and open to our own sense of compassion that's in all of us. And when we thrive, we now know that people thrive when they're coming from compassion. It does our bodies and our brains good to actually be compassionate.
It does indeed. Well, Jen, did you have something to add?
No, I think it's again, it's kind of baked into the way that we approach the film, and again, not making anybody wrong, but that old adage of a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. And I think by not attacking, and certainly there are times when I've done plenty of documentary films. Some of them are very hard hitting, some of them are very gritty, but there's really something important about not negating somebody's point of view, but just expanding what choices they have when they're making decisions. And I think it really was to approach this in a kind way, because if your defenses are up, you're not going to hear what somebody's saying. And I think that's really the basis of all nonviolent peacemaking approaches is to not be harmful. If we're asking people to watch this and not be harmful, then we, I think, also as filmmakers, that's our responsibility, is to be not harmful in the way we approach the material, but to present it in a way where people feel at ease to hear what we're trying to communicate to them. So yes, it was about expanding definitions and challenging assumptions, because a lot of people make their decisions based on what they've been reared with, what they've been taught. And so religion is at the center of many people's consciousness, and their development. And so I think it needed to be handled with care. And as all the work, that the Gibord Center does needs to be handled with care and a gentle touch, but without compromising truth. So,
yeah.
Well, this brings me to, why we were so honored to be able to show this film, because at the basis of our work, I know we're called a film festival, and yes, we do show films, but we really think that our work starts when the film is over, when the lights come up and everyone sits a little taller in their seats, leaning forward, saying, "What can I do?" And and so we love to present them with positive models, with something that they can take back into their own lives and into their own communities. And so, if there were, something that you would hope our audiences walk away with from your film, maybe Dr. Sprague, we can start with you and then go to Jennifer. What would you hope that people would take away? When you were saying something about thriving on compassion, that really made me think about, how aligned this is with our mission.
Well, there are a couple of things. One was the other day we showed this film, and a young man who was in the audience said, it made me think about, one day there was a spider, and instead of killing it, I got a piece of paper and I took it outside. And he said, "What was that?" And I said, "Think about how you felt when you did that. Think about what happens if you carry that attitude towards every animal that you meet." And he got this huge smile on his face. And so I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to help people get in touch with that inherent goodness that's there. And to do that, what I hope people walk away with is the awareness that animals are living beings with every bit as much love for their family, with every bit as much sense of fear and pain that we have, with incredible loyalty. It's astounding. And the Gibord Center has continued to do other programs on animals. And one of them that we've done recently is looking at some of the research that's out there that shows that, prairie dogs have a whole language that we're finally deciphering. I mean, they know whether a human being is wearing a blue shirt or a green shirt because they tell each other that. And to really learn that animals are wondrous beings that we're connected with. And what is it like if we really are actually family? I mean, you can really annoy the heck out of me, but if you're my family, you're still my family. So, I mean, that certainly is part of what we want for people to get out of this. And we want to continue to grow a conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's I love the idea that the film allows people, hopefully, to maybe just act from a little bit deeper place, when they're making choices about what they're going to have for dinner, or how they interact with other people. Certainly we have choices. We have a lot more power than we think, in terms of what we purchase, what companies we support, what ideas we support. So I love the idea that the film, in a non-threatening way, gives people the ability to hear that and maybe, act from a little bit deeper place and consider. I think it's also, considering these ideas from a little bit deeper place, because certainly, I personally, I don't, I try to practice nonviolence as much as I can in my life, and that includes what I eat and what companies I support. And certainly there's a lot of people who are vegan because their diet or their health or a lot of different reasons. So I think, again, as Lo has said so many times now, because it's so important, it's about starting a conversation on how do we think about these everyday practices in a little bit deeper way. So to me, I think if the film can accomplish that task of having us think about these things in a little bit deeper way, and also helping to erase the idea of other, I think that's really important too, and so seeing in one frame, somebody who's representing, Buddhism or the Sikhs, most people don't know who they are and what they represent, and, the Vedanta and the Hindu consciousness, and certainly, I mean, the Indigenous consciousness, to me, is something I'm very involved in a lot of the work I do. It talks about that idea of relations, of being relations to not just other humans, but to the planet and to the animals and all of the beings that we share this earth with. So hopefully, I think that idea comes across, that idea of our interconnectedness, and that there is a kernel of that idea in all the different faiths, and so if people can just take that in and maybe help that infuse their choices a little bit, then I think it's a great, or even start a conversation about it. I think to me, that's what success would look like.
Yeah. That's wonderful. You both have given such concrete ideas of things that people can do about the film. How can people support your work, both the Gibord Center and Jennifer, your film work?
Thank you for asking. We would encourage people to come to the Gibord Center website and see what we do. Because of COVID, many of our programs now are online. We have an Inspiring Stories program that is online, and we encourage people to reach out to us and communicate to us. It's always lovely to have people support us with a donation, because everything that we do and everything that we make available is free to everyone, because we believe that spirituality can't be owned by anyone. So that never gets in anyone's way, but we would love to get your support. We have a lot more that we could do if we had some of that support. There's a lot of material in the can, as they say in your business, that we would very much like to get out, and to really think about, how we together can speak up and speak out, for finding peaceful ways to get through some of the struggles that we have, to look at what are some of the values of goodness, and get into the conversation, deepen the conversations. So if you come to the Gibord Center website, I think you'll find some ways to do that. Send us suggestions, connect with us, and share the film. And share it with schools, share it with organizations.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I think what she said. I think, supporting that vision, certainly supporting, independent filmmaking, because there's a lot that you can do as an independent filmmaker when you don't have a studio or other people with different agendas funding what you're doing. There's also a lot you can't do as an independent filmmaker because you don't have the support of a studio. So a lot of times as independent filmmakers, we're sort of giving up resources or financial support for that freedom to tell the truth. And I personally I'm very committed to truth. Myself and my filmmaking partner, my husband, who's a religious scholar, are very committed to truth and socially responsible filmmaking. So I think doing things like coming to this festival is super important, because oftentimes these are the only venues that will open the door to these kind of ideas, and that helps the ideas get out into the world. And but I will say that it's a beginning, and Dr. Sprague and I have another project that we're starting the first stages of, and it's kind of the next step in this conversation about religion and the environment. And so certainly, if that's something, if you like this and you feel like you would like to see more, I think that's something that the Gibord Center could use support with, to help, again, more of these ideas come out into the world.
Yeah. I also want to say that if you want specific ideas about how you can do things that are helpful to animals, please go to Animal Defenders International's website, because it's very rich, and we partnered with them because they deal with animals on every level. So if you're interested in makeup issues, entertainment issues, cruelty issues, wildlife issues, Animal Defenders International has many suggestions on their websites. So that's another one to go to. And again, support films and film festivals like this. These are incredibly important. The work that you two are doing is enormously important. So please support it.
Thank you so much. This has been such a beautiful conversation. And thank you to everyone out there who has been watching. Again, we've been very privileged to be speaking with Jennifer Jessam and Dr. Lo Sprague with Anima. You can find out more information, not only about this film, but about all the work that they do at thegibordcenter.org. That's thegibordcenter.org. And again, this film will be part of both our in-person programming and virtual programming. Our in-person programming begins September 19th, running through the 25th, then picking up with the virtual September 26th, ending October the 2nd. All information about our programming can be found at peacefilmfest.org. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you at the next Glow.